Hey everyone, how's it going today? And welcome to another episode. So the big idea in today's episode, what I really want to talk about is pretty much sharing the new data that recently came out when it comes to the world of the jobs report that basically came out in the month of March 2025 in reference to the data and the situation of what's going on in February of 2025. So in other words, it came out in March, but it references February. And the big idea is that if you want the long story short to how the jobs report came out, is that long story short is that it just was not very good. You know, a lot of things are going on in our world and country right now. Unemployment for the first time in a while skyrocketed and is rising back up again. So unemployment came down, then it is rising now back up again. On top of that, they also fell below expectations in the sense that they were not able to successfully add as many jobs as they originally wanted to be able to add. So the big idea is that in today's video, what I really want to talk about is pretty much just sharing the brand new numbers when it comes to the world of the jobs report, the unemployment situation, how our labor market is currently doing. And then I want to maybe also give some personal insights about my personal thoughts about where we are headed from here. I do want to note is that a lot of the things that we share in today's update, even if you've seen another update about this, or whether this is on my own or another channel, I think that this update is going to be particularly different because the reason why is that because there are a lot of things that are happening inside of our country right now that is making it so that the labor market is very, very uncertain right now. We are going through Trump's tariffs. We are going through a potential rise and reacceleration of inflation once again. We are going through a crashing and falling stock market, at least at the time of the making of this video. And we are also experiencing a lot of things related to the layoffs that are going on in our federal government with the downsizing that Trump has announced. We have had so many videos already talking about this, so obviously there's just a lot of things going on. I'll put some videos at the very end screen so you can watch it after you watch this video, but big idea is that that's going to be the agenda for today: unemployment, the job market, and then just my personal thoughts about where we're headed from here. So that being said, let's just get right to this video. But as always, like, comment, subscribe. Feel free to leave any thoughts or predictions down below about where you think our labor market is currently headed. And with that being said, let's get started. So the new unemployment jobs report came out and was recently released in the month of March of 2025 in reference to how the labor market did in February of 2025, released right here. And the big idea really behind this one is that they realized and calculated that they ended up only being able to add 151,000 jobs were added, a lot less than the originally expected numbers of 170,000 jobs. So they wanted to add 170,000 jobs, but they ended up only adding 151,000 jobs. And keep in mind is that every single month they revise these numbers slightly. So it's expected that when they revise these numbers again, it might potentially be even worse. Now, it might potentially be better, but in most cases, more often than not, it actually becomes even worse. And they found out that the department or the industry where most of these jobs were added happened to be in healthcare. So this also, as we've mentioned in this video, or just we've mentioned on this channel before, is that a lot of these numbers can feel very different depending on the specific industry that you work in and where you are trying to find work, if you are someone that's unemployed or looking for work right now. But healthcare is the area where the most number of jobs were currently added, where they need a lot of workers. Now, the unemployment situation actually is one area where things also got a lot worse. In the world of unemployment, the unemployment rate rose from 4% to 4.1% in the last month, which, while you might not necessarily think 0.1% is a very big percentage, the idea and bottom line behind this one is that at the very end of the day, the goal for our government should be to try to bring unemployment down, regardless of what percent it's at. It just should be to try to improve the situation. But based off of what we're seeing right now, the unemployment situation, it's getting worse. And also keep in mind that in a population where we have over 100 million people living in our country, even just 1% represents a million people, at least a million people. So that's a lot of people to really be able to absorb when you think about it. And what is the significance to all of this? And I think this is the part that's really important, is that It's also very, very important to note that the accuracy of a lot of these numbers can be a little bit off. And this is something that's very, very important because for the unemployment rate to currently stand at 4.1%, you have to keep in mind that what's actually defined as unemployment is a person that's currently out of work and that's actually physically collecting unemployment benefits. So why this is important is that because there are a lot of people in our country right now that are currently unemployed, but are not collecting benefits or have been on unemployment for so long that they've basically fallen off and are no longer able to qualify for benefits. And as a result, although they are unemployed, they are not part of the statistic because of that reason, because they don't have the specific definition of what it means to be considered an unemployed person inside of our country. The other big thing that I think is really important to note why the numbers are not always telling the full story is that because there are a lot of people, on the other hand, that maybe just recently did find employment or maybe are currently employed, but the problem is that the quality of the jobs that they're currently working is not very reflective of the fact that they're employed. So what is an example of this to maybe make a little bit more sense about this is that because there are a lot of people that maybe graduated with an MBA, and you can feel free to share any comments or stories if you relate or know of anyone that maybe can relate to this situation. But they might have graduated with perhaps like an MBA or a very high degree of some kind. But because of the current job market and how difficult it is to find work, they're working a lower paying job than what they really should be qualified for to be able to do. So in other words, what this means is that they're working, but they're not necessarily working a quality job. And the quality job can mean a lot of different things depending on the person you're asking, but we're in this situation define it as a job that has reasonable work-life balance and reasonable salary and slash amount of money being paid in a certain amount of money that makes it so that they're making a livable wage. And I think that's the part that's really, really important to absorb because there are a lot of people that are working, but the quality of their jobs might be very, very questionable. They're either working or maybe they're not working at all, or they are working, but the job that they're at maybe is not paying a livable wage. Maybe it doesn't have very good work-life balance. Maybe it's not a very healthy environment to be in. So a lot of this stuff is really, really important to really understand why the unemployment numbers, although they currently stand at 4.1%, doesn't tell the full picture. And when you actually factor in the people that are on long-term unemployment, when you factor in people that are employed but looking for more opportunities because they're again underemployed in that sense, the number is actually a lot worse than what the 4.1% number actually really, really reflects and shows. And I think that's probably one really, really important thing to be able to really take away and really understand about what we're going through right now when it comes to unemployment, the job market, finding work and labor and everything in that world. And I think it's also really important now maybe to take a little bit of shift to talking a little bit about why these numbers are also very, very different this time. What makes this jobs report particularly unique compared to almost any other jobs report we'll talk about in the past is really about the fact that because a lot of the numbers that we are seeing right now in our country are also very, very much impacted by a lot of things that are going on in the world right now. As most people know, if you guys haven't followed this channel or if you guys are brand new here, maybe consider subscribing and hitting the bell so you guys can get updates about this if that's of interest. But the idea is that right now in our country, we are going through a lot of difficult moments, and feel free to share your comments and stories down below. We are currently going through Trump's tariffs, which have recently started to become implemented. We are going through a very rough labor market, but not just a rough labor market, but the announcement that a lot of federal workers are now set to be unemployed by the very, very end of this month and into the coming months following that as well. So that's another news story on its own. We are facing a potential re-rise again of inflation. There's a lot of talks that's saying that, we might potentially see inflation re-accelerate again. And we're also facing a potential glooming recession that's going on. There's a lot of people that say that, our country might be headed towards some kind of recession in the near future. There's other people that have even stated that our country is maybe already in a recession. Feel free to leave your comments down below if you guys think we we are or are not, or if we're headed towards some kind of recession, because this part is going to be a little bit interested to kind of debate and think about. But the idea really behind it is that because of so much that is happening inside of our country right now, it's going to be even more interesting to see where our jobs report heads in the following months following today, because the reason is that a lot of people, just like we've mentioned in the federal government, are set to be unemployed or set to be laid off relatively soon. And keep in mind that a lot of the events that we've talked about, so such as like Trump's tariffs, the inflation situation, the recession, a lot of this stuff is expected to take place in March, or has already taken place because we are in March right now as the time of the making of this video. And the jobs report in March references the data in February, but the report in April now is going to reference the data in March. So that is why it's so important and significant to really understand what's going on, because if you are someone right now that is trying to build up your career, and I totally relate to this because I think one of the things that maybe makes my channel a little bit unique than other YouTube channels is that there's a lot of channels that will talk about unemployment, but the problem is that the person that's talking about unemployment is actually employed. In my particular situation, maybe what makes it different is that I don't do YouTube full time. You know, YouTube for me is a side hustle. So that's why huge thanks if you guys are here, because the support is really greatly appreciated. But the idea is that because I'm not on YouTube full time, I am someone that is trying to build a career outside of YouTube on off camera, if you know me in real life. So as a result, because of that reason, I'm actually someone that's living firsthand, someone that's trying to pursue building up my career outside of YouTube, trying to actually go in the job hunt right now, trying to build vertically upwards. And so because of that reason, if you are someone that's currently out of work, or if you are someone that's currently looking for more opportunities, so maybe you are employed but you're looking for a new job to build up your career, then I totally relate to it right there, because I'm also in the same exact shoes right now as well. Of course, a lot of this stuff, we just have to see how things go. But my personal prediction, if I have to, just maybe give a couple future thoughts about where I think we're headed from here, is that right now at this current time, it is really, really difficult to call where the future is headed. I personally think, and this part is going to be a little bit opinionated, so feel free to leave your thoughts down below. I do think that our labor market is going to improve. However, with that being said, because of so much that is happening in our country, from like the recession, tariffs, taxes, new policies, geopolitics, everything that's happening, I do not have necessarily positive foresight in the near future that I think that our economy is going to get a little bit worse before it gets better. I do think long term it's going to get better, but I do think short term it's going to be very, very rocky, and we might be going through a lot of difficult moments. In other words, it's going to get worse before it gets better. Of course, this part is a little bit opinionated. That's why I'd love to hear your thoughts about where you think our country is headed. Do you think we're going to be going through improvement? Do you think we're going to be seeing the opposite? Maybe things are going to be getting worse, or maybe you think it's going to be a blend of both, or maybe it just depends on the specific area of our economy that we're currently talking about. But I'd love to hear your thoughts, especially when it comes to the job market, the labor market, and unemployment, and everything in that world. So with that being said, that's pretty much what I really just wanted to cover in today's video. So if you guys found that relatively insightful, hopefully you guys did. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell. We'll hopefully make more updates as we get more information, especially coming into the future jobs report that comes out. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, stay safe, stay well, and hope to see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much again.